I think Van Jones is a smart idiot. Oh my goodness. So there is this summit, Dealbook Summit 2024. And you have a bunch of these, pundits, ex-congressmen, and Van Jones. And as I said in the intro, I think Van Jones is a smart idiot because sometimes he says stuff that is right. That's right on the money and it's very insightful. And then there's other times where he says stuff, it's like, what, are you dumb? Is there anything going on in there? Is there a complete vacancy in your head? What's happening? One such time was him starting off at this summit. And he talks about Kamala Harris and he makes his little snide remark. And he's like, hey, Kamala Harris promised us freedom, okay? And she delivered. She gave us freedom from running anything in government.
Kamala Harris promised us freedom. Well, she delivered it to us because now we're free from having to run anything in Washington, D.C.
Now I get he's trying to be hee ha ha, but in all honesty, I don't think that's funny. Because I think the blame being on Kamala Harris, who did one hell of a job in 6 months, mind you, in 6 months, okay? That, to blame her for the failing of her campaign is insane because Kamala Harris was not the one running the campaign. She has campaign managers. She has people who tell her, hey, mention this in your speech. Hey, here's your speech. Hey, go here. I think we're a little behind on, in points in this state. We got to go here. That's who. I think the leader of her campaign was a white woman, O'Malley or whatever her name, Jen O'Malley. And the funny part is that when it comes to Pennsylvania and a lot of these microcosms where she lost by margins, that it was their fault because you had black people on her campaign who were saying, hey, you're not going to these places. You're not going to black outreach. You're not spending money with black companies. And by the time that you did spend money with it, it was 2 weeks from the election. So now your main voter base that you depend on, you neglected. Is that Kamala Harris' fault? Or would that be the white woman, the white liberal woman who was the head of her campaign, who kept reassuring everyone that, hey, we're going to win and it's looking good. We're making progress. We're doing everything.
Every single one of these states are in play. And in each of these states, every week we see and we monitor our numbers. We monitor the work that's happening and we're seeing growing enthusiasm and we're so excited about it.
So that was a fucking lie.
Bruh. This is something that even Roland Martin talked about. But he got an interview with her. But it was late in the game. The issue is not Kamala Harris. The issue are white liberals in these campaigns who do not want to give outreach, who do not want to lend an ear or any type of support to their black delegates, to the main voter base that has supported them. Now, them losing this election is they somehow see this as a referendum on, well, now we need to focus on more white people and more Latinos. And I'm like, are you guys cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs? Huh? Are you guys crazy? Like that is a fool's errand. Now, having said that, he does mention as far as Biden should have stepped down earlier. I absolutely agree. He said he was a transitionary candidate. This is what he went into knowing.
People were shocked that Biden wanted to run again and disappointed, and the polls showed it immediately. He should have walked away and let other people in this party step up to the bat. He didn't, and we paid the price.
I think he got a little bit greedy, and then he got butthurt. And he was like, all right, we're not doing an open primary. We're giving it to Kamala Harris. Simple as that. So I think there was some bitterness there. I think Jones is right about him stepping down. But then he goes on, like I said, he's a smart idiot. He says something that's idiotic, says a little bit of smart, and then goes back to idiotic. And that being where he's talking about, hey, we're kicking people out of the party. He then mentions how they kicked RFK out the party. We're pushing people out the party. RFK.
The rebels in our party have been pushed out. RFK was a rebel inside of our party. He wanted to run against Joe Biden fair and square. The DNC wouldn't let him. Pushed him out.
RFK is an idiot, okay? I don't know what to tell you. RFK is a dingleberry. Whether it comes to vaccines, whether it comes to... I did a video of him talking about racism. The man is a dolt, okay? Simple as that. No one kicked him out of the party just because they didn't want him to run against Biden. That's not kicking him out of the party. Then it comes to Elon.
Don't forget, Elon Musk was a Andrew Yang Democrat 4 years ago. He's out.
I'm sorry. Nobody pushed Elon out the party. His whole big deal was his child becoming trans. That has nothing to do with anyone. What are we talking about? Like I said, Kamala Harris, the Democrat Party, did not run on this election. Kamala Harris did not mention anything about trans. That was Trump who brought that up. She didn't mention anything about the LGBT. She was talking about, America and freedom and, healthcare and all this. It was very much a right-leaning centrist campaign. I would argue that the meme accounts on Twitter, on his platform, were responsible for taking him down the rabbit hole of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Okay, now he's just a full-fledged freaking Nazi, white supremacist based off the accounts that he retweets. And then lastly, he finishes it with Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan, I'm not sure as far as Joe Rogan is right or left. I think he caters to whoever he brings on the show. Does he not like certain as far as politicians? Sure. Even his take when it comes to, Luigi and what happened there. He's like, the insurance companies are, POSs. It's a really dirty deal.
I don't think anybody's going to be crying too hard over that guy.
Yeah, maybe his family, but that's about it.
Yeah.
It's a dirty, dirty business. The business of insurance is gross. It's gross. And especially healthcare insurance, just gross.
So even there, he has some sympathy with the healthcare system, which is, you're not going to find that on the right. So if anything, you could say he's left-leaning centrist. I don't think he's been pushed out the party. He was willing to have an interview with Kamala Harris, but once again, we come to find out who made that horrible choice. Her campaign heads. So it goes back to the white leadership of the Democrat Party that is screwing over the party. We have got to get these people out, these old heads, and replace them with people who have their hand on the pulse of the party or of the American people. That's what needs to happen.
Congregation, I said, can I get an amen?
Then lastly, he mentions a statement that triggers the host of the panel. And that is, hey, the fringe has become mainstream and the mainstream has become fringe.
First of all, digital is a new door knocking. Mm-hmm. You got to understand that. We were laughing our butts off at Donald Trump for suspending his door knocking campaign and letting Charlie Kirk and Elon do a bunch of stuff online. Mm-hmm. We said, these guys are idiots. These guys are stupid. Then you start knocking on these doors. You know what people come to the door with? Their phone in their hand. I'm telling you guys, the mainstream has become fringe. And the fringe has become mainstream. There are platforms, there are people out there that are getting 14 million streams, and we're on cable news getting 1 or 2 million.
He's out of line, but he's right.
Now the host is like really does not like that answer. He's like, well, I don't think that the mainstream media has become fringe, maybe not the same power though.
Hang on one sec. Margaret Hoover, to Van's point about the mainstream media becoming fringe, which I'm not sure I quite agree with. But
you can't. Actually, given our surroundings,
right.
That's
But it is certainly true that the mainstream media does not have the impact it once was.
And I think that right there, that white liberal lady, that right there is the problem. That mindset, that perspective, that pompous, arrogant attitude is what cost Democrats' election. It's what's going to cost us the midterms. It's what's going to cost us going forward. Because that pompous, arrogant attitude of, well, I don't want to say fringe. Okay, I wouldn't say that attitude is you got to let that go. That ego, you have got to let that go. That smugness that these white elitists have had with the media, where they are the gods of everything that is truth, that we are the gods that tell you how to think. That is going by the way of the dinosaur, because you have media outlets, right? You have people who get in front of the camera and just tell you the truth, right? I'm not getting paid by Rupert Murdoch. I'm not getting paid by, freaking CNN or anyone. I'm telling you how I see it. And that right there is worth its weight in gold versus the smug white liberal who has their idea and concept of what everyone's problem is. I know what's wrong with the poor, even though they've never gone to the streets of LA. They don't know not one homeless person, but I know what's wrong with it. And I know what's going on over here, right? This is where we get smug jackasses like Newsom, who, when Xi Jinping comes over, where do they go? What happened? What'd you do? So these people are really the dregs of the party. They're disgusting because we have allowed, as far as elitists, to take over a party for the people. They don't represent the people. This woman doesn't represent the people. Guarantee she lives in an area code that majority of Americans don't even know exists. Then you had this black chick who was talking about, well, that's not true because we were definitely reaching out, so we don't need to know, these people because we were reaching out digitally. No, you weren't, bruh. Stop it.
Right. So the idea that the Harris campaign was not on digital, that the IEs like Future Forward were not on digital, and spending millions of dollars to reach those folks, to hire influencers, to bring them to the DNC, right, and have a totally different kind of outreach to young folks and people of color, much differently than we have seen in the past.
So that was a fucking lie.
You are reaching out late in the game. That's what was happening. Every black media outlet was last on the checklist. And the reason why was not because of Kamala Harris. The reason why was because of the white liberal who was making the checklist. If you have people who think like this, what do they think is the top of the game? CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, that's where they're going to go. And they're going to see all the content creators as less than. They're going to see them as, we'll reach them, when we get a chance. Even though our numbers are very much superior to your numbers. The people who watch us more frequently than they watch your slop. So to treat us like, nothing, to treat us as lesser individuals, lesser content creators during an election is crazy. I've said this time and time again. When's the last time you had a Democrat outlet or a left-leaning outlet go on a college campus? Do what TPUSA is doing. Have these events. Go on college campus, making content, making it go viral, even though their arguments are piss poor to anyone with an IQ above room temperature. But what does it look like? If you give a straw man argument, if you go to a college campus and you debate someone who may not be as far as well-versed or well-read on the subject, and you have a bunch of, rhetorical, gotchas and stuff like that, you're going to look like, oh, this person's smart. Oh, this is a valid argument. That's how they get it. It's propaganda. And that's what it is in a nutshell. TPUSA, Heritage Foundations, all these are propaganda machines, and they are winning. So what this black woman talks about, where she's like, well, the bigger issue is that we've got to fight against this galvanizing of, the youth and everything. Yes, you're right.
And so how do you actually bring them together and create the structures? That's what the parties need to be thinking about. That's certainly what the Democratic Party needs to be thinking about. How are you bringing people and fighting the polarization that seems to be locked into a different structure, and one that is reinforcing, some very problematic identities, identity politics and othering politics that are very focused on hate and division. And that's what I'm deeply concerned about.
But the way to do that is not to ignore the media that the youth is watching. When Van Jones is talking about, hey, men are being shamed from both sides, that's not going to work.
The feminist culture tells you, don't cry because you're the problem anyway. And the masculinist culture tells you, don't cry because boys don't cry. You can't talk about how scared you are, that you don't understand your kids and what's going to happen to them. You can't talk about anything. So at least Donald Trump lets you have an emotion besides shame.
That when you have a person who's saying, hey, you're not so bad, that of course, even though the message attached to that you're not so bad is horrible, it's the blacks' fault or it's the Jews' fault, right? That first point of, you're not so bad, they're going to come. They're going to come and listen to what you have to say. And that's how they go down the rabbit hole. That's how they get, galvanized. That's how they get radicalized into this right-wing Nazi cesspool of foolishness, of drivel, of antiquated notions. And if there is no one to combat that, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? And the people who are combating that, if you want to view them as less than, and you don't want to as far as invest in them, then you're bound to lose, and you have no one to blame but yourself. Anyways, guys, that's the video. Let me know what you guys think. I don't know what the counter to this is, because I think it's very well thought out and very insightful. Like, it's obvious you have got to adapt some of the policies and practices that the right has implemented to strengthen their campaign, to create a propaganda machine. If you believe what they're saying is lies and is hate and is counterproductive to the fulfillment and, and enjoyment of all people in this country, then it is your responsibility to create a counter to that. That is your responsibility, instead of saying, well, I don't know, what do we do? Anyways, if you happen to disagree, you know where to find me. Friday through Sunday, you can call in and we'll duke it out. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please feel free to like, share, comment. Let me know what you guys think about the summit. And subscribe and all that fun stuff. Till next time, guys, be amazing.
The feminist culture tells you, don't cry because you're the problem anyway. And the masculinist culture tells you, don't cry because boys don't cry.